Hey guys, this is part two of my Sergeant Pepper uh, special. I was talking about the last track, a day in a day in the life, and so yeah, this this is probably in my opinion uh, the greatest a song that Lennon and McCartney wrote and that the Beatles recorded. You know, it has a nice balance of of John's like more serious introspective style, and Paul's more upbeat, poppy style, and then of course there's that orchestral break during the middle of the song and during the end, up until that nice, uh, up until that nice epic piano crescendo, and yeah, that's how the album ends. Yeah. Uh, the What more can I say about this album? This album revolutionized an era. It revolutionized a lot of different albums. This album, uh, this album, along with the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, helps help people uh, see the value of albums as a work of art, as a complete thing to be listened to from start to finish. Because in the early days of pop music and rock and roll, it was all about the 45 singles. People only cared about singles. That's what they wanted to listen to, and the albums they were left to like jazz musicians and Broadway musicals and classical music. That was the music that people really wanted to listen to on an album from start to finish. But this album, along with a lot of other albums, kind of started the whole album era for rock music. As it made it made people see the 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 album formats uh, uh, commercial viability. Yeah, it got other groups and artists into the album era. Making not just and making not just the 3 minute singles, but but like looking at the album as like a possibility of like a complete statement, a complete work of art, and also it 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 let artists be more um, experimental and creative with their work. For because they had the because they had the uh, persona of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band that gave like a, a lot of other artists like David Bowie the chance to get creative and reinvent himself with like each album that he did. Because he had characters like like uh, 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 he had characters like Ziggy Stardust and the the Aladdin Sane and the Thin White Duke and stuff like that. You know, sort of gave him a chance to be creative and try a different uh, um, images for himself. You know, it it revolutionized that aspect of music and and gave artists the chance to like uh, uh, become a, uh, to to become a studio band be because before then that everybody just thought that every band needs to tour. That's how you stay popular. That's how you make money. That you need to tour. But no, they showed that you can still be popular and stay in the studio and work on your music and form ideas and stuff and another and another innovation that it made was how albums were uh, 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 presented, you know, because this is this is arguably one of the most recognizable album covers of all time. You know, with the four of them and their multicolored army suits and like all the different wax figures of famous people in the background, uh, uh, such as Bob Dylan. I think uh, 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 Marilyn Monroe. Uh, uh, the Oliver Hardy. You know all these different people. You know before them. Before this album, the album covers they were they were like seen as a more of an afterthought. You know, they weren't given much consideration. You know, as much as the stuff, as much as the sounds on the album. You know, but with this album, this was really a concept, and so it's like and so they wanted to create an album cover to go up to go up to go along with this concept of Sergeant Pepper's a Lonely Hearts Club Band, and so they did this cover, and so yeah, this yeah, people started getting um, uh, 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 people started getting a more creative uh, and the conceptual with their album covers and yeah and also this was a one this was like the first album to feature uh, 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 printed lyrics inside of the album and 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 the album featured like the album featured a lot of bonus goodies in inside uh like a bunch of uh, uh the cutouts the the mustache and the stripes and badges and a cutout of Sergeant Pepper and yeah, this went on to be one of the most parodied album covers from people from Frank Zappa and The Simpsons. Every almost everyone has like done a parody of this album cover, and yeah, and another thing that this album um, the another thing that this album um, revolutionized is the idea of a concept album. Some people may argue that it wasn't the very first concept album, or that it wasn't a concept al- album at all. Because there were some albums previously. Like I mentioned before, uh, the Beach Boys. Pet Sounds. People call that one. People call that one of the first concept albums. Because it has like um, a running a lyrical theme throughout, and some people call Frank Zappa's Freak Out the first concept album, and like a lot of people say that Frank uh, 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 Frank uh, uh, Sinatra's albums from the early '50s could be counted as concept albums, and and a lot of people still argue over whether Sergeant Pepper could be the very first concept album, or if it is at all. Uh, uh, a lot of people say that it's not including in including John Lennon. He has said in some in some um in, in some interviews, he's like he uh, he he says, you know, the people call it the first the concept album, but it doesn't it but it doesn't um really go anywhere because all of because the, he says that all of the songs that I wrote on the album, like the being for the benefit of Mr. Kite, they have nothing to do with Sergeant Pepper and his band. He says that they could have just ended up on any other album, and he says that and he says that there's no uh, he says that there's not really a much of a concept beyond the first two tracks, and that like he says, but it worked because we said it worked. So yeah, but oh oh but yeah, uh, whether or not you could uh, uh, call it a concept album, that's up to you. So yeah, um, oh, yeah. What more can I say about this album? Great album. Uh, the Beatles masterpiece, along with Revolver. You know, is this is in my top three uh, 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 Beatles albums and albums of all time. So yeah, that is my review. Uh, I'm happy birthday to this great album. of 50 years. Um, a great album. And thanks, guys. Be sure to like this video and subscribe, share, to hit me up on my Facebook and other um, um, sites. If you have an album that you'd like me to do in the future, hit me up in the comments down below. And thank you, and I will see you next time.